Hello and welcome along to the VMTV Rugby Pod. We are back. The amigos, Jenny Murphy, Fiona,
Hey,
how are we? Great to be involved. Fiona Hayes with us too. All online, of course, but a big championship is starting. The main one, of course, I should say that. Ireland this weekend in England. Allianz Stadium, going to be over 70,000. Then we have the other matches kicking off. Wales and Scotland, and then Italy and France. Plenty of subplots. Let's focus firstly on Ireland. Jenny, plenty of optimism and positivity. We've had a few scary results there in the past. I know I'm always doom and gloom, so why not start as we are going on? But an air of good optimism, or are you cautious too?
Listen, I think like the fact that playing in Twickenham is something that not many players get to do. So you want to kind of hopefully get them to soak it up as much as possible and try and disrupt this super impressive winning streak that England have been on. It is going to be a really tough ask, especially in their backyard, to do something like this. But there's been such a seemingly positive buzz around the camp, even like before the World Cup. And a World Cup is one where you become more knitted and even tighter than you were before as well. So no, it's definitely not doom and gloom. It's just going to be very, very hard to do. But there's some super talented players involved in that match day squad. And I think it's about trying to basically deal with England's those like 10-minute clusters of pure pressure. And if they're able to consistently deal with these and be able to kind of come up with something to work on the blitz defence, and I think Dan O'Brien's boot is also going to have to play a big part in the day, there can be a bit of a disruption. Now, I wouldn't be betting my house on it, but yeah, and it's possible, 15v15 at the end of the day, hopeful, a new Six Nations. I have ambitions for us to finish more than that bronze position as well. So we'll see.
Fiona, going through that team there, Perry, Maloney, McDonald, Dugang, Wall, Chute, King, I've just picked out 6 out of the forwards. But would you say it's the first time there actually is a lot of consistency for Scott Beamon, which must be a positive as a coach yourself to have that squad, but also a bench with Anna McGann, Niamh Jones, O'Dowd, a bit of depth too.
Yeah, it's huge.
On the biggest stage.
Yeah, it's huge. And to be honest with you, I know a couple of the players obviously around the camp and even involved in the Celtic Challenge and stuff. And this is the first time there actually isn't a lack of fear. There is no fear against England. I think obviously everybody knows how quality they are, but when Ireland played them last year, obviously we scored first. That Amy Lee Costigan try was unbelievable and probably petered out of the game for a little bit and then came back in and out. So I feel like that was the match that killed that fear factor, as in those players thought, you know what, I think these guys are beatable. Away in England is going to be very, very hard, but when it comes to performance, if you believe that you can beat a team, I think it can absolutely play into the mindset of that performance on the day. And consistency is what you spoke about, Stu, and certainly there is huge consistency on the back of that loss to France. We know how hurt they are, and a lot of these players are getting a chance to come out in the biggest stage. I think it's over 75,000 tickets sold. Imagine playing in front of that. It's going to be absolutely unbelievable. But the key to what you're saying is that bench. Niamh O'Dowd on the bench. I mean, come on, like, she's just a class act. Anna McGann, Eilish Cal, Katie Whelan, both in line for their first caps. But certainly, other than those two girls that haven't played before, when I look at that bench, that's probably the strongest bench we've had in a long time. And also, when you look at the likes of Aoibhinn Riley is out, Sam Monnin, I think 4 years ago, if we said Sam Monnin's out, we would have been crying. What are we going to do? Now there's just someone to step in and take over. And it could have been, for me personally, I think it could have been Ruth Campbell, could have been Fiona Chute. There is so much competition for places there, and that's what's exciting going into this big game.
And Jenny, the sort of the mood we've talked, and also the expectation has changed around this team. Heartbreak in extra against France. in the quarterfinal. But what's it like as a player when it's shifted to not a free run over the last couple of years, but if we win, it's a bonus, or we're trying to win more matches. Now it's like, okay, we finished third the last couple of years. We need to improve into second. Was there a bit more pressure there? And how will they deal with that with Scott Beamond and also Alan O'Connor, the new forwards coach, in there?
I guess it's probably like you see players now, there's some players hitting like getting cap 50, and they've got a lot more experience behind them. And with that kind of comes a little bit of a shift in like more internal responsibility. Like they've been there and done that to a certain extent, and you kind of know what you need to do to raise your own game as an individual, but also how you can kind of help your teammates around, particularly those that are a bit more green as well. So I think there is going to be a little bit more of a demand that they put on themselves. Like, you know, when you have a good win, you keep on wanting to build on that. And I do think now that if we're coming away from this Six Nations and looking back, players won't want third, and it's not something that they're going to settle with anymore. Maybe in previous campaigns, you know, to a certain extent, that would have been a good result because we were in a building phase, a lot of new players and a lot of new key positions. That's not the case anymore. And players know that more than we do chatting about it. Like they'll probably have their own individual goals and markers that they want to hit in a match basis, competition basis, team basis. And I think that's exciting. That's something that like they've been there long enough now to be able to put down a marker and get a scalp and hopefully get a big scalp. Like Fee's already mentioned the shift and what France are kind of how they're approaching a little bit earlier before we jumped on the call. Is France the one that they go after? Ireland have never beaten France away from home. Is this the year to do it? Like, why not? You've got a really solid set piece in play. You've got players that are now like more comfortable in their positions, like in particular that 10-12 axis. They've got a lot of caps in that setup between them. We kind of want to see not just like pockets of really good play, consistent pockets of really smart play, and they're more than capable of doing that.
I really want to ask what's a good day and a score for Ireland, but I'm going to let you off for a wee bit because you know what I'm like. It doesn't help that Brittany Hogan and Aoife Wafer have gone to the PWR. We know also the benches and stuff, we have a lot of girls playing at Gloucester and across the park there. But the fact they're going against these girls week in, week out, Fiona, must be familiarity, and they can't be scared of them. Not that I'm saying they were.
No, that's what I mean. It's that fear factor, that ability to play at what they perceive. Everyone obviously, and it is like probably the best league in women's rugby. So the ability to play that and go over, I would imagine the first couple of games, because we're Irish, we're doubting ourselves. You're probably wondering, am I good enough to play here? But from what I can see, even she's not made the squad, but I'm watching Niamh Gallagher there for Ealing, and she's already got, I think, 2 player of the games under her belt, and she's not even making this squad. So I feel like yes, they're going over playing. Obviously, we won't go into the ins and outs of it, of why they're gone and the poor old AIL. We'll leave that for another day. We'll leave that for another day. But I do feel like in watching these girls playing on the TV week in, week out, that you can see they're growing into those teams that they've joined, and the likes of, Aoife Wafer even playing with Ellie Kildone, seeing what she does in training. I know, even when you're on the same team as someone, you can see what their habits are that you might notice when you're reviewing games. You might see that they always come back inside. Maybe their tackle takes a little bit too high, and you might be able to change something in your game to really attack that, especially if you get into those wide channels against those back three in particular. So it's going to be interesting how people that are playing over approach those players that they're on the same team with, because I think they're all, obviously you love your teammates, but you'll also have that bit in you that you want to really go after them, and especially in front of 75,000 people.
It's great you'll both tell me the truth here. When those fixtures come back out in the day and you had England first or last, When did you want them?
On the back of a World, I'll jump in just for a second, Jen, and you can go. On the back of a World Cup, obviously not in Twickenham with 75,000 people, but on the back of a World Cup, I'd take them first any day, because I think that's when England are most susceptible. Now, they couldn't go out and prove me wrong, because there is some changes in the guard. They're trying and testing out new things. We see in the squad that they've selected, you've got Roland in centre, Lucy Packer's getting that start, and I know she's played a lot of rugby coming off the bench as well, but certainly it's that England grow as they go through tournaments. So me personally, when I saw it, I was like, this is the one we'll go after. And then when I saw that they were selling out that many tickets, I was like, I don't know how I'd react in front of 75,000. I'd be more waving at the fans, I'd say, now that I'm playing.
Love it.
Well,
you're made for the stadium, Pete. That's what you've always said.
And you, Jenny, what do you think?
Oh, Steve, to be honest, I didn't really care or think about it too much. Yeah, but I do agree with Fee's point of I think in any competition you're making tweaks and changes, and you should be getting better as you go on. England are off the back of an absolutely amazing summer. They're on a high. It'd be really nice to mess up the party to a certain extent. So them being first up in Twickenham, it's a pretty cool opportunity, but it's probably one I wouldn't be looking at the fixture list and being kind of thinking tactically about okay, we've got Italy here, we've got whatever. It's just right, first up, this is cool, go for it. Yeah. Nothing too insightful there, Steve. I didn't.
Jenny,
did
you never went into coaching, did you? After?
No. For my sins, I dabbled. Yeah.
I think she's still playing the centre, so she says.
She is tomorrow in the semi-final. Come on, Jenny, we need you. Your whole team is calling.
That's right. I think she thinks she'd dig you out of it there. It was interesting, Fiona.
Steve.
That's great. Great to chuck a few yards in. Chatting to John Mitchell, I asked him, you're coaching a team that wins every week, and if you lose, it would be the worst thing in the world. And he was like, yeah, but no team have won a World Cup and a Six Nations, back to back. And then with the 9 uncaps or around that. Yeah. But even if we look, you touched on Kildon, Breach, Meg Jones as captain. Yes, they have a few out, pregnant, etc. But Cabea, Matthews, it's just littered with serious amount of quality, and it's just going to be ridiculous. If Ireland were to lose by 45 points to 10, is it another reality check, or is it actually it doesn't matter because we still have 4 games left, and if we win those 4, it's a good competition?
Yeah, look, if you win those 4, it is a good competition, but I think there would be frustration around that if that 44-10, if the performance wasn't there. I think, and I know that's the key word from everyone in the media, performance, when there's probably a slight gulf in class at the minute, but certainly I believe that these girls will have a crack, and this is probably the first time that deep down they'll think we can actually have a go at this. You mentioned the changes, but Stu, on the other side of things, they've been high performance for so long that when those changes come in, it's not really yes, obviously we know the quality that was there, but it's not such a gulf in difference, and that's what Ireland have been trying to build. And we spoke about it earlier about the bench, that those girls coming off the bench could easily be starting, a lot of them. So with England, when they shift, when they move things around, I think mid-tournament, sometimes it can affect their cohesion, but this is the start of the tournament now. So these girls are obviously vying to try and hold on to that jersey and really go after it with those players out. A couple, I suppose, are injured as well. And as you said, there's a rake of pregnancies on the squad. I was like, wow, I thought it was only 1 or 2. And I was reading the names going, fair play.
Jen, how do they go about doing it is the magic question, because we're talking about your coaching pedigree. This is the time to shine, Jen.
Getting stoned from all angles.
You get a hard stick.
Actually, how much I didn't really like doing this podcast, to be honest. This is really, really nice.
You had me up, that's why I just...
Same, then you just knocked it out of the park. I think for Ireland, there's a few things that we definitely need to navigate. One is England's blitz defence is one. And that's where I think there's potential opportunities kind of looking behind that initial front line. So for those kind of dinks in that midfield play is one, and also trying to manage the sheer amount of pressure that England have the ability to put on you. Like Meg Jones has been unbelievable in the Premiership this season. England captain now, like a force to be reckoned with. And then with that 10-12, having two playmakers on the field and being able to basically unleash that back three line off both sides is something that Ireland need to navigate. So like I think Dalton is going to have a big day in terms of kind of managing that. But it's just being, I guess, trying to be as dominant and as accurate as possible with those tackles coming into play, not giving away needless penalties, and just trying to, I guess, manage that pressure. Like we will be kind of pushed back a lot. I think it'll be a huge defensive shift in Twickenham at the weekend, but it's one where like we've seen Ireland being able to manage that and handle that really well in pockets. It just needs to be a little bit more consistent. And also, I mentioned it already, like using Dana's boot. She's got a really lovely left boot, and she uses it for territory really well. But I think now we can start to see, like, are we able to use Parsons, for instance, push that back three under pressure? And you need to be really, really accurate, because when you're kicking to one of the best players in the world, you got to do it right, and you got to have, I guess, everyone on the same page. I think that's a big one. Set piece battle discipline is kind of like comes part and parcel when you're playing a team that's organized. And then finally is probably I was looking at some of our World Cup games and being more efficient in our 22. When you're in that green zone, you need to put points on the board. Like there was a number of times where we hit like over 10 phases and came away with nothing. We're not going to get into that green zone a huge amount of times. If we get in 5 times, you need to be converting at least 3 of those times to be able to stay in line there. So no, there's a few things that went on a bit of a waffle, but that's kind of where I see Ireland having.
And just on that as well, it was good. Yeah, just on that as well, I was lucky enough, or unlucky for him, to be sitting next to Gareth Steenson on the way over to the Munster Exeter match there last week. And obviously he's the new attack coach. He's covering the attack. So I was chatting to him a bit. I feel like they'll have a lot of stuff off strike plays, like off set piece. They'll have strike plays off set piece that we wouldn't have seen a lot of before. They'll have looked at areas off that where they can target England. I think in that first phase, Jenny, a lot of times before when we played them previously, we would have relied on Dana's boot to kick away and just use our defence then to try and turn them over. Whereas I think we might actually hold on to the ball a little bit more inside in their half, obviously I'm talking about. And even with those kicks, you might get a couple more contestable, and that contest in the air will be huge if they can really put pressure down on that in their kick chase, etc.
But Fiona, just on that, the old saying, forwards decide the match, backs by how much. That's definitely wrong. But anyway, I think you got the basically what I'm trying to say. Forwards dictate and backs decide by what happens. Is this the definition of that? Because we saw in 40 minutes or 45 last year in Cork, where they held their own, could have even scored more points. But if they lose the gain line, they're going to get ruined all over.
100%. And I think in Cork as well, they look at that and how maybe they lost their shape after a few phases. So shape and how they want to play will be absolutely huge to them. So when they were going over and they couldn't get over the gain line, they stuck to the same thing over and over again. And I think England kind of wore them out. And then obviously whenever it was turned over, they attacked those wide channels. And that's what England can do to you, is from absolutely nothing, they can score a magical try. So I feel like they'll be, with that gain line, like you said, Stuart, it'll be much, much better. I'm watching these girls week in, week out, PWR, Celtic Challenge. There is another level of fitness to them, and they're getting better the more in the obviously they're in the program a while, but that match fitness that sometimes some players mightn't have had. Now you're looking at a team that have played a lot of rugby and a bench that has played a lot of rugby. So I think that will stand to them. And the reason I'm mentioning the fitness is sometimes the pack were lacking getting over the gate line due to probably tiredness, footwork, that English brick wall in front of them. And as Jenny said, with that blitz, if you can get that offload away, you're breaking that gate line every time. So they will try and do a few bits around that contact area to obviously get them over that. And before, you're looking at that English back line. But when I look at that Irish back three, I think there's absolute talent there as well. We just haven't, in these big games, probably giving them the ball enough. So this could be a chance where we might see the backs brought into the game a lot quicker than we have in the past.
Okay, plenty of good facets there. We must move on to the other couple of games for the last 10 minutes or so. Jenny, Italy against France. Fiona was doing all the work there, said plenty of evidence. A new coach for France. They got to the semi-final in the World Cup, but probably time for a change, if I'm right to say, for the coach. New man in who took Canada to the World Cup final, didn't he, in 2014, and then did really well with Stade Bordelais, I think it is, the last couple of years. What do you make of him there? And he's gone with youth, if I'm right.
I think it's really exciting. Like, France have looked, calling them stale is definitely a disservice. There's just been a lot of the old guard around as well, and it's been, you need to mix it up a certain level with the experience and those kind of newer sparks that offer something different. It's one where it's really hard to try and get a gauge of what's going to happen in that first game, because historically Italy have been a little bit of a disruptor for France in the past, and some of Italy's players are over in the Premiership and are doing really well, like really impressive players, bringing that back to the national squad. I do still think France are going to be favourites going into it, and as well as that, when you're getting your first cap, or it's early days and it's that competitive with the numbers that the kind of France has to pick for, you're not really afforded time to make mistakes or gradually grow into a game. You have an opportunity maybe too, so you got to take it. This is an opportunity for a lot of new players, and it'll be just interesting to see how he what his tactics are and how he wants France to play with. Like, when they're playing open, expansive, expressive rugby, it's so difficult to defend against because they are likely to do anything. But also similarly, once you get a bit of a front foot and start building a bit of momentum, a lot of the times they can kind of crumble too. So you don't know what you're going to get. France, first game of the Six Nations, it can always be a bit of mixed bag. And sometimes it can be licorice all sorts and it's not great. And other times it can be bonbon. I'm going to actually completely regret that.
Excuse me?
That was, But I think France are going to be one to watch, and one that I'd be excited to see, like some players that we've not come across before and how they kind of step into the role in Six Nations in general.
Bonbon. Fiona, we talk about Ireland trying to catch France. I can maybe tell, without speaking for you, do you think this French team could close the gap on England?
Yeah, certainly, definitely. I mean, I've just, like, if you look at that, 9 debutants, but they've been playing a lot of teenagers in there as well. So I think what he's looking at, obviously, is this next World Cup cycle. So it mightn't be this year, but certainly I think next year, that's what they're looking at. And as I said, these players are playing over in France. I mean, the standard of rugby is unbelievably good over in France, physical. But if you look at his selection as well for the squad, it's like 6 debutants. Like, normally you'd have 3 on the bench or whatever, but he's gone all out. He's inbred these young guns. I think in the second row there's a 19-year-old. It's going to be her first cap, and she's with Medusa Fall. So you're paired up against experience. You can just grow and grow throughout that. So I'm excited to watch them. And Jenny touched on it. I'm sorry, but France have just disappointed me so much the last couple of years watching them. The style of play, you just didn't know what they were trying to do. Normally, we know they select a big pack. this looks like a far more mobile pack. Obviously, they'll have to nail the set piece. If they can do that, you're looking at a very mobile pack. The skill set of some of these players, we know the Menage I think is injured in back row, but they're weaning out a couple of players that they haven't selected. Menage was involved in the last couple of French squads in the wing. Her sister, she doesn't seem to be involved, and they're just going with youth and the focus, I would imagine, on winning the next World Cup. That's what he's focused. You spoke about, he's a coach that made it to the final in France when we were over there with the Canadian team, who a lot of people mightn't have backed at that time. So he certainly has that underdog ability around him, Ratier. And I just feel like France will beat it. I certainly believe they'll beat Italy, but I think as the tournament grows, we're going to see something special out of this French team that we've been crying out, that jouer, that play. We haven't seen it out of the team in a long time. They just seemed erratic all over the place, not kicking with any structure. So I am excited seeing these guys grow through the tournament, because the players and selection looks like it's going to be an exciting one.
And then on Saturday evening in the Principality, it is Wales against Scotland. Sean Lynn's second year in Six Nations in charge. He's brought in different coaches from Exeter, also taking the defensive coach from Scotland, and Tyrone Holmes there back and forth. And I would say there's a lot more pressure now, considering what he did at Gloucester. Hartbury won his 3 competitions last year. It was all sort of muddled up, but now he's been in the hot seat for a while. We'll expect a lot more, considering the back-to-back wooden spoons, Jenny, for Wales. But Scotland have had their number in the World Cup and also the last 2 times in the Six Nations. That's a fairly fascinating encounter, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's some really good, there's some really exciting matches that like hopefully be close enough at the weekend. And this is one where Scotland, I do think, are favourites going in, even though it's away. They've had the upper hand for a while. They are playing some decent rugby, as opposed to Wales, who have been really poor for a chunk of time. And also just so much disruption within the WRU as well. There's just a lot going on outside of the women's national team as well, that it does bleed in, and it would be disruptive. And there is that more pressure, that there is that added pressure as well of another wooden spoon. Every game is they need to win, and Scotland they're not going to be targeting England, they're not going to be targeting France, but the other 3, they need to get a result. So I think there's a lot more pressure on Wales, and just trying to tidy up some of the fundamentals that weren't quite there, like players not clicking, poor comms within attacking plays, big gaps that are easily appearing in the in defense. Now they've had time to work on it, and obviously a lot of their players playing in the Premiership as well is helpful. But yeah, I wouldn't be the most confident in that. I'd be thinking that Scotland are looking at getting a scalp here, and also getting one quite significantly, looking at putting up a score and starting their Six Nations off as strong as possible, building confidence and putting some of what they're working on into play.
Fiona, with Scotland there, they have the new boss as well. We haven't even talked Branny since moved to the Netherlands. They have the likes of Rachel Malcolm still going strong. Obviously moved to Ealing, Skeldon's in there, Emma Orr, Meryl Smith. Do you see them as just being growing? Got to a quarter final, yes, lost to England.
Yeah.
Again, that's why it seems as if I'm going in roundabouts. Could they beat Ireland in Aviva in round 5 in that standalone fixture? Or is it no, even though it always is nip and tuck no matter what between those 2?
Yeah, I think they just run each other close, don't they? It's always a nice scoring game. Just looking at both squads as well and the teams they've picked, I know I feel like there's going to be something different about Wales this year. I just... I followed Sean Lynn and what he's done with Gloucester, and obviously it takes time to embed your culture, to make your players want to fight for their life for you. And in listening to the media, the chat from the girls that are on the team, from him around it, I think that you're going to see something different than we've been seeing. There's a lot of stuff, as Jenny said, that we're going on in the background. It's still ongoing, but I think they're kind of over the point now where they can just focus on this Six Nations. And I suppose whatever will be. But you're talking about Scotland, they're so good. Helen Nielsen, I mean, is just unbelievable to watch. I think they have a new 9. Brebner Holder is in holding. But it's going to be a huge loss. Francesca McGee last year was just absolutely class. She's carrying an injury, so she's not going to be involved in this first game anyway. So she'll be a loss. It's one of those age-old battles. Scotland, I think, have gotten the upper hand in the last few years, but I just feel like there's something different about Wales. And in what you can't predict, Stu, I think with Scotland, can they compete for this Six Nations? We're on the ground in Ireland, we're watching the girls week in, week out, and we obviously have an attachment. So you're like, yes, Ireland can move up the charts. I suppose after this first week, when we see the likes of Scotland, when we see Wales, how they're playing, then you might say, actually, they could have a crack, or even the likes of Italy. So because, yes, and a lot of the girls are playing in the PWR, but I just feel like with this Scottish team, there was a lot of expectation put on them, and then you'd say, yeah, they're coming good, and then they'd have a couple of heavy losses or they wouldn't perform. So for me, it's about consistency. If they can get that in the first couple of games, I think they'll definitely be in with a big shout, and coming to the Aviva is going to be a hard case for any team, because it's obviously the first standalone fixture, but certainly the way Scotland play, the way they attack, you never know.
Well, it's great because you said you can't predict till week 1 is finished, but the good thing is you're going to predict. So, and Jenny always gets the short straw. She's up first with the weekend. Actually, we could do plenty of predictions. Maybe not score lines. We'll go with
go with Kill Bill first. Go on, give her first.
Okay, right. We'll give Fiona your first. We'll go with results. Overall winner, I think, is too easy. So that's a bit okay. Well, I think it's too easy. Let's go for shock of the tournament. So round 1, all your results are winners, and then who do you think will be the surprise of the tournament?
Okay, round 1 in the surprise of the whole tournament.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think round 1, I'm going to go with. I'm going to say it's going to be a lot tighter. I'm going to say about 36-15 or 28-15. England will win. I don't think it'll be a whitewash. I think the girls will really perform. I feel like Wales, that's going to be tight game. I think Wales might nick it. So 24-22, something like that. France against Italy, the quality, the speed, the youth, and this Ratier's had a little bit of time with them now. I think they will win. So maybe a 26-10 scoreline in that France-Italy game. And the surprise package, whether it is a surprise or not, obviously, me, Stu, I go after the heart. I think it's going to be hard. There is, because both tough, the top 2 are away from home, but I think Ireland will cause an upset.
Okay, so they could maybe finish second.
I think they could finish second against France. I could be way off with that, but I feel like this team definitely have something brewing in them.
Right, Jen, you've had about an hour there to have a think. So
I think the same. I think Ireland have the potential. I think they're capable of getting their first away win in France. And we'll know a little bit more about play after this weekend. But yeah, I think that's going to be this. I do think England is going to win at the weekend. I don't think there's going to be a massive gap. I think England are going to put 40 on Ireland. But I do think Ireland are capable of keeping the gap to 20, to less than 20. I think France are going to beat Italy comfortably. And I think Scotland are going to win away from home in the Principality Stadium by, I'm going to say 15 anyway, and go from there. So more succinct.
Brilliant. Jenny and Fiona, thanks as ever. Round 1 preview is done. We'll be back throughout the championship to get all the dazzling insights from these two. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
See you, Fifi.